Former National Security Advisor and retired General H.R. McMaster. I would add he's also a Ph.D. in military history from UNC Chapel Hill. That could come in handy this morning. General, your reaction to the pictures and the news overnight, and also the big question, what do you think Putin is after?
Well, Tony, thanks. I mean, this really is the end of our holiday from history. And what you see is Russia and Putin in particular trying to restore Russia to national greatness. And Tony, this goes back to the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, what Putin saw as a disaster, and what Putin has been driven by since that time. And since he took over in the year 2000, 22 years ago, he's been driven by an obsession with restoring Russia to national greatness. And his plan to do that is not to make Russia great. It's really to drag everybody else down. And you're seeing, this sustained campaign against any of the former territories of the Soviet Union and the former Warsaw Pact countries, really designed to restore Russian influence in the former territories of the Soviet Union as part of that overall campaign to restore Russia to national greatness.
If you're Ukraine right now, you are outgunned, you are outnumbered, you are led by an individual who was an actor and comedian just 3 years ago. What do you advise militarily?
Well, they're fighting. I mean, the Ukrainians are already fighting, right? They've been fighting since 2014. There already been 14,000 deaths, right, in this ongoing war is what we should remember. And Ukraine has taken obviously the threat seriously since the invasion began in 2014. The military is reformed. It's going to impose costs on Russia. And this is really, Tony, I think what we have to watch is, how are the Russian people going to respond now to casualties? And of course, Ukraine deserves all of our support. I'll tell you, Tony, I wish we would see an airlift that is kind of analogous, that you mentioned the importance of history and analogies, to the 1973 airlift to Israel when Israel was under duress. And of course, Ukraine needs a lot of economic support, right? We're talking a lot about sanctions against Russia, but how about economic support for Ukraine, which is being strangled right now by the Russians, with really a de facto blockade going on in the south of Ukraine, as well as these massed forces on its borders.
General, it sounds like you're saying you do not believe Putin has an end game with Ukraine. It may go beyond that. So the big question, I think, for Americans waking up this morning, seeing these pictures and thinking maybe this seems very far away, to that point of view, you say what?
We say, well, these threats that develop abroad can only be dealt with at an exorbitant cost once they reach our shores. That's why it's important to impose costs on Putin right now, beyond those that he factored in at the beginning of his decision making. He's already threatened nuclear war, Tony. And so I think what we have to see is this latest assault in a broader context. I mean, just think about what he's done since 2007, massive cyber attacks on Estonia, the invasion of Georgia in 2008, the constant, undermining of Ukraine, poisoning presidential candidates, for example, assassinations. It's not going to be the end of it. What we've seen just in recent days is the weaponization of migrants on the border with Poland, encouraging Serbian separatists in the Balkans to reignite conflict there. Once you get to into Ukraine, look at Moldova. This is going to go on and on until Putin is met with strength. He will push as far as he can. And I think it's extremely important that we maintain the unity we've seen so far. And I think we ought to applaud the Biden administration's effort to keep the family together with the U.S., UK, the European Union, and Canada, I think, responding together well and really across the free world.
General, it is a new morning and a new order in international politics and a battle for global supremacy. General McMaster, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony.